Good morning, Flosstube. Lynette here from sunny Brisbane, but even though it's sunny, it's very crisp this morning. Beautiful, really. I love this kind of weather. I tried to set up a Flosstube last week, and unfortunately, fortunately on one hand, but the tradies turned up to fix the ceiling of our garage, which collapsed in the floods a little while ago, so that didn't happen. So we'll try again this morning. So I've got quite a few bits and pieces to show you. I'm going to start with the July magazine monthly challenge. The first piece I haven't actually worked on, but I just thought I'd show it because I've got everything else sort of sorted. So the theme for July is public spirit. And in the interest of public spirit, I cross-stitch because it keeps me off the streets. That was my starting point. But then I have this piece called Cruising the Information Highway by Randall Spangler, and it was one of the very, very first Heaven and Earth designs I purchased before I had any idea what was involved. It's just cross-stitch, right? Anyway, when I understood a bit more about Heaven and Earth, I put it away for a while, but I've got it out again. And the plan for this, and I hope my son doesn't actually watch this, was originally for him to hang on the wall in his new office when he first took up the role as an academic in university, and he didn't have a lot of stuff. That was the original plan. So I'm still chipping away at it slowly, and it is fun. So I'll show you where I'm at, because it's actually when I got it out and ironed it this morning, it's not as bad as I thought, but there's still a lot to do. Get all this in, can we? There we go. So I've got right across to the far side, and then I've been working down to the bottom, but I think when I'll pick it up, I might move back up to the top and work across a bit further. Come back here. See, there's all this brown. So I might sort of do some sessions up here somewhere and then come back down. I'm sort of trying to keep this as nearest to the last as I can, because I think that's going to be really fun. So my goal for that was 500 stitches, and that should be achievable. And this I keep in this beautiful bag made by my friend Jenny, who I talked about last week. This one is so cool. I've got everything twisted up. So it's got handles, as you can see. It's got inside pockets there and, whoops, on this side. And that's all my floss in there. And a little needle thing, scissor thing, and a little pin cushion. It's absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Jenny. And that's my home for my Spangler piece. And since that's going to take a long while to get good use out of that bag. My glasses are making look like bags under my eyes. I am tired, but not that bad. Okay, so then the acrostic is honour. H-O-N-O-R. So for H, I have chosen the mini sunflower because Laura from Stitching on the Shore started it in her May starts, I think it was. And I thought, oh, I made a tiny start on that. So let's have a go at it because it's fun and it's just a mini one. So this is what it looks like. And I even wrote notes and forgot to follow them. So the Cruising Information Highway is on 22 count cream Ada, and I'm stitching at 101 with DMC, has 87 colours. And I have typed up notes, and when I get myself sorted, I will hopefully be able to copy and paste them into the drop-down box, so you'll have them all as well. But that's taking a little bit of organising, because when I first got Google was a while back, and anyway, you don't need to know all that. Mini sunflower. So this one is also a Heaven and Earth. It's the mini one. It's artwork by Donna Gelsinger, and I'm working this on 25 count. It's a Zweigart even weave, just white, I think, and I'm working at 1/1 on the 25 count, and I'm really enjoying this. And when I first picked it up, I only had this tiny little bit, because when I first saw it, I just bought it and I went to the shop and I bought the fabric and I came home and I started it, and then that's where it's at. So I'm actually really pleased, and I'm using this for the as well as for the acrostic, which is H for hearts and then O for only blue, which was a large part of this blue because this is all 995. I'm not quite sure why it seems a bit paler there, but I'm also using it for the Full Coverage Fanatics Tour de France thing, and I'm doing really well with this. So I'm going for the yellow jersey, which means you stitch one stitch for every kilometre the riders ride, and we had a couple of rest days, and I've actually even put some stitches in on the rest days. And what I'm doing is I've totaled up on the bottom here, you can't see them all, doesn't really matter, a number of stitches we're supposed to have stitched by that point, and I'm ahead. So yesterday was the 12th, and I'm up to 2,074 stitches, and it's only 1,650. And the reason I really wanted to get ahead is because I've got family arriving after lunch today, and I'm going to have some days where it's going to be a bit hard to meet the goals. But what I've done is all this in here is 995. So I've gone around, so hopefully I can get at least some of that work in while they're here without having to concentrate too much. But I'm really enjoying this. And that is in my, as you saw last time, my lovely linen and threads stitch along bag. Whoops, losing threads, which are just thrown in there at the moment. I mean, once I get more threads in, I'm going to have to put them in a different place. Oh, and last night, I have to show you this. Last night, I got pink. Can you just see? There's a little tiny pink. So that's part of here. See the pink? That was so exciting. Small little things, don't they? Make us really happy. So that's that one. So then, that's from Honor. That is the H for a heart, which I did, and the blue, only blue. So the next one is N for Noah's stocking, and I finally managed to get the picture for you. It's big because I'm only up in here. And my goal was to get the beard finished. I've done a little bit of beard, but not too much. Last month I was supposed to do the Lepidoptera, the butterflies, and well, that's how far I got. But it is fun to stitch. The beard's just a little bit confetti-ish, I guess you'd call it. It's a bit nippy out here. I sort of threw a thing over my shoulders. So that's Noah. So what are we? H-O-N-O is, this one hasn't come out for a while and I'm really enjoying it. O was for ongoing project, and that is my Long Gone Sampers Death by Cross Stitch, which I started way back, I think it was their 20th anniversary. Yeah, 20 glorious years, 20th anniversary, and I actually started it back then. Now you can see this green is more or less what I've done. So I've done everything up here, a little bit down here. And my goal for the Magazine Monthly Challenge is to finish this page. And that line, if you can see those lines? They're the pages, so I could have a rough idea. So I've just got a little bit in here and a little bit across here to finish that page. And then I started working down here as well. Now what I'm using for this is 18 count Ada. Let's see if we can do a big picture. I'm not going to get this all in, I don't think. Oh, barely. So there's a little bit I've worked, actually since I picked it up, I finished this half and I've worked down here. Now, when I first started this, I was going to do it all in Caron Wildflowers, and this is Pine Forest colour 083. But I did my calculations wrong, because when you use this, you only use one strand, and there's 33 metres on here. With this, you've got is it 48 metres? Yeah, yes, it's 48 metres, but I'm using it 2, so that's 24 metres. Anyway, bottom line is this was going to be really expensive. And I'd already bought a few, and I went to order the rest and realised I wasn't ordering nearly enough. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the border. This double line is all in that wildflowers, and then this half of this going down is in the wildflowers. The rest is in the DMC 501. I haven't said that. So up the top, sorry, I covered the camera completely. So up here, all this section is in the wildflowers. So it's basically having the wildflowers border, and I don't know whether you can see on there. Can you see it gives a bit of variegation? It's beautiful to work with. Yeah, I think you can see the difference in here, the variegation, compared with just the 501. And at the time, 501 was my favourite DMC colour. Oh, and the other thing I've got on here, look at my cute needle minder. So there's a lady called Lisa Loves Stitching in our area who has an Etsy shop, and she made this needle minder out of a brooch she found, and when I saw it pop up on her shop, I thought, I've got to have that. That's my long dog. So whenever I work a long dog, my little long dog, sparkly friend, will go with me. So I think that's all on Death by Cross Stitch. Bring that back over there. Okay, next. So that was O for ongoing, and then R is the last letter in honour, and I really want to put a U in there because we're Australian, but it was too much effort at the time to think of a project that had a U in it, so I just went with what I've got because I'm actually doing well. So this is R for residences, because this is my Gnomeville Mystery Stitch Along by what's her name? Little Dove Designs. And we've had 4 parts, and all 4 parts are finally finished. So this comes out about the 27th of the month. So this has been sitting patiently waiting. And my friend the other day, she'd bought some needle minders and she got an extra one of this. The lady in the shop just sent it to her. So she gave me that, and I think it's cute sitting there. So that's by Little Dove Designs. I tried to find it on Etsy this morning, and I don't know, I was having issues with Etsy, so I just gave up because otherwise I was never going to get this done, and with people coming, it's got to be done. And that's in the lovely bag made from ties that Jenny made me. So that is my magazine monthly challenge pieces, and I'm feeling like I'm doing really well this month compared with previous months. I think the goals I've set have been a little more sensible, shall we say, not so, what's the word? I can't think. Out there, you know, too high, too lofty ideals, that's it. So I've also been working on another couple of things. I think I'd started the Scottish Sampler Stitch Along last time. Part 2 has come out, and I don't actually have a picture to show you. Part 2's actually come out, but I haven't been, I don't know, about a quarter of the way on part 1 maybe. So this is, I've got it somewhere here. This is 36 count even weave. Yes, I remember did show you. I remember talking about it last week. And I'm using the DMC threads for it. And some people have finished part 2 already. There's some eyelet alphabets down here. I really like working on it. It's just, you know, there's only so many hours in the day. And I'm doing quite well, I think. So that's that one. Okay, then we go on to Happy Mail. So I was fortunate enough to win Laura's, Laura Stitching by the Shores giveaway a couple of weeks ago. And this came super fast from the US to Australia. I was really impressed. So there's 3 lovely pieces of linen. This one I really love, and I don't know whether, yeah, you can probably see a little bit there. See how it's a bit mottly? It's a lemon and it's a bit mottly. She sent me a lovely handmade little card note with it. So this one had a label on it. These ones didn't. So as soon as I opened it, I measured them, worked out the stitch count, wrote the size down. And this lemon one, I'm thinking of designing some sort of Quaker piece in a monochrome for it. But don't hold your breath. So thank you very much, Laura. I really enjoyed getting that in the mail. It's very nice of you to send it all the way out here. And then my girlfriend, Jenny, she said to me, now you're doing a floss tube, you're going to have haul. And I go, no, I'm not going to have haul. Not too much. Well, Carolyn, Seasook Stitch, and Candy, I can't remember the numbers, Stitcher. Anyway, they're both doing a stitch along, and they're starting the twisted band sampler. And I've wanted to do this for a while. I've looked at it because I think Stitching Mummy's doing it. Can't remember who else. But anyway, I looked it up and it was on sale. So what's a girl to do? It was on sale, and there's a stitch along. So here's my PDF copy. And if I get my notes linked, the link to the Northern Expressions will be there. And I'm going to do this on a 32 count linen that is coming from Stitch It All here in Australia. And I was really thinking, why haven't I got it? Why haven't I got it? I ordered it and it wasn't here. So I sent them an email because they're usually really good. And they had sent me an email, but I never got it, saying that they were out of stock of the particular one. It was a blue cloud. And did I want to choose another one? And the first one was on 36, and the 36 count colours they've got left are not suitable. And I think I can just squeeze it onto the piece of 32 count. I'll double check, but hopefully that might arrive, and then by Friday that would be cool. So I'm going to stitch this on this, I can't remember what the colour was. It's got a sort of a blush behind it. And I'll be able to show you that next time, and hopefully some stitches, and I'm just going to use the DMC. So I'm really looking forward to joining the ladies in doing this one. So that is my haul, Jenny. Right, so that's right, that's nearly all the cross stitch. I want to show you one other thing. My parents moved a year or so ago into a retirement village, which was a really, really good move, and it's near my sister down in Victoria, and I'm just so grateful that she got them into this place, because with COVID and the issues they've had, I don't know what we'd have done if they'd been still in Melbourne. So anyway, in the move, things got cold, a lot of things got cold, and they sent me back. My sister said, what do you want to do with all the needlework that you've made them over the years? And there was quite a bit, and my son had also stitched them some things. And I said, send it all back. Anyway, I spoke to my dad the other day and I said, I've got all these things. How about I put it together into a quilt? And he thought that was a really lovely idea. So I'm going to show you where I am with that. I was actually going to show you my Alice box today, but that we'll push that back till next time. And I'll show you these instead. Now, in the box of stuff that came back, this arrived. Now, this is really special because we lived in country New South Wales when I was 7 or 8. Well, up until 7 or 8 we did. But anyway, my dad went to Melbourne to see about a job, and he came back with this for me. And I always had such a lovely memory of him coming back. And look, honestly, I didn't stitch until I'd left school, really. I did some knitting, but I really didn't stitch much in my childhood. But I have such a lovely memory of this, and I have no idea what I put in it or what I used it for. And I thought it had got lost in the, time frame of travel and everything. But it appeared, and they had it. And it had a whole lot of stuff, and I think my stepmother had been using it because it had a whole lot of needles and old things in it. So I'm just so tickled to have this childhood memory to come back. So that's that bit. Okay, now this is all in progress, okay? So it's in bits, and I thought it'd probably be easier to show you some of it in progress before, well, some of it's still big. So let's start with this one. So my son stitched this for his grandfather in 1998. I would imagine it was out of a Stony Creek magazine. I used to get all the Stony Creek magazines, and All for the Love of Cross Stitch, which was Leisure Arts. It's one of those. So that's something he stitched for his grandfather, 98. So what, 20 odd years ago? He'd have been about, I don't know, can't remember. He'd have been young, let's go with that. Then we had a magazine here called Jill Oxton, and it was Australian production, and I can't remember the artist, but he did a lot of this style, a lot of Australian, and I made that for my dad because he was a golfer. So you can see some of these. This was in a frame, and what I'm using in between them is Tilda fabrics, because I actually got a pack 8 bundle of them, and they just seem to go. It was a bit hard to know. This one, so we've got here, so you can see I've made a Tilda block to pad it all out. This one, my stepmother actually had stitched. I don't know what the threads were, because when I washed it, you can see it's bled, but I wasn't too worried about it. And that she had stitched with a patchwork frame, like a little wall hanging, and there was hardly any margin on it. And this one, I think she must have stitched. It's beautifully done. I don't think it was me. I think it's something she must have done. So I've included that. Then I did a series out of, and these were out of For the Love of Cross Stitch. I remember that, spring, summer, autumn, winter. And these I had framed, 4 frames, and you can see on the border here, can you see how where I sticky taped them around some cardboard, because I didn't really know much better back then. And I've washed everything, but we're just going to go with it. So that's spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And I've still got all these magazines, so if anyone was desperate to know, you could ask me and I could hunt through them and find out. So let's see what the date says. The date says 2002, so it would be before 2002. And they looked really pretty sitting on top of the piano, which I actually now have, in 4 frames. So that's that bit, and that's going to go along the bottom. Then this bit's the big bit. This is where I've got quite a bit together. Let's go this way. So this is sort of how it's coming together. So this one up here, my son stitched. He stitched it in, oh, it doesn't say this one, it just says Happy Birthday Grandma. He's a beautiful stitcher. He still stitches. Doesn't have a lot of time. He's got a family and he's an academic. He doesn't have a lot of time. This one I stitched, and I think this would have been out of a For Love of Cross Stitch. And this one isn't signed either, but it was really pretty. And then this one was out of, yes, this was out of For the Love of Cross Stitch. I still love this one. And that one, when did I stitch that? 2006 by the look of it. And on the bottom, Tim did this one in 96. This would have been for his grandfather, my dad, because he paints. This one I must have done for my stepmother Marion at some point. It would have been a shepherd's bush, I think. And the last one was also done by Tim, my son, and that was done in 96 as well. So I think he must have done, maybe he did, they were Christmas presents, because he's done this for my dad and that one for my stepmom. So next time, hopefully I've got that all together. Now I've made one quilt before with cross stitch. I wasn't overly happy. A lot of it was Aida and stiff Aida, and quilting it was really hard. So this one I'm hoping will be a bit better, because all those are softer fabrics, and they're not as big a pieces. So we'll see how it goes. We're planning to go down and visit my husband's mum in northern New South Wales, my daughter, and see her new house in Sydney, and then go down to the top of Victoria at Wodonga and visit my parents in September, and I'll take that when I go down. So that's the plan for that. So that forms a little transition between cross stitch and quilting. So I did show you this last time. I thought I'd give you a progress shot on this. And again, it's not going to fit in the camera because it's getting big now. So I've got one more row, one more row to go across the top anyway. I've cut all the pieces out, they're all sitting there, and this has sat on the floor for over a week. I'm not doing anything. I've got visitors today, so I thought, well, I'll come off the floor and I'll give you a progress of that. Okay, then knitting. So last time I was doing the, what's she called? Miss May shawl by Curious Handmade, Helen, anyway. And I finished mine. I was a bit doubtful as I was going along, but this is like a half of it. So I'll just wedge it up a bit and so you can see. So I had this and this and this in stash, and I purchased that. So this is cotton. This I think is wool because it didn't have a label. I knew it was 4-ply. This is silk. And this is alpaca from our local knitting shop down at Sanford. It's called That Yarn Place. It's really cool. Are we going to That Yarn Place today? Well, yeah, of course we are. They have a knitting group on Fridays, and it's just nice to go and knit for a couple of hours. I'm actually really pleased with how this blocked out because, you know, using 4 different fibres, I had no idea, but it blocked really easily, and I'm really happy with it. Doesn't look as it isn't as subtle on camera as it is in real life. So I find it a little bit garish on the camera, but in real life it sort of blends and it's quite subtle. So I was really pleased to finish that, and I actually need to put a photo on Ravelry in the group because I think there's prizes. So you never know. I entered Laura's and I won some linen. And then friend of mine and I a little while back got madly into Louise Crowther's knitted animals, and I've knitted an owl and a fox and a raccoon. I think she knitted the bunny. There was a whole set of them. Anyway, she's got a new book. This is the new one. Now, it's not on Ravelry yet, but it's been out for 6 months, I realised, because I went into the Ravelry group and they've been talking about it and making it. So these are wild animals. So I have, when I go down to Wodonga later in the year, my sister's grandson loves gorillas. So we're going to make this, because this is a chimpanzee. Very important to know, it's a chimp, it is not a monkey. And how do you know? Because monkeys have tails and chimps don't. And this does not have a tail. And there was a whole thing in the group about it, which is why I know. So I talked to my sister and she said, yeah, do that because he's into gorillas and that's the closest thing. They're just so cool. So I bought the yarn for him. I've got a fair bit of these. These are different yarns for the clothing. They're Katona. And I just had to get this red and this yellow to blend what I had. But at that yarn place the other day, I bought grey yarn to make, let me just find it, flip, 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 here she is. This is Elsie the hippopotamus. So I've started Elsie the hippopotamus. I think this lady is so clever. Look at the shaping in this. Can you see? See his head? This is his snout. Going up here towards his ears. Isn't she clever? It is just so, and it's really easy. They're just increases and decreases in the right spots. And then I've started the body, and I don't know whether this is the bottom or the top. I'm not sure. Oh, it's the bottom, because these are placement for the arms. I can't remember. Anyway, she does these things where you do these purl rows, so you know exactly where to stitch whatever has to go on it. So stay tuned for more of that. Now, I started it because I liked the hippopotamus and I liked the dress. And this is, if you're into knitting, this is intarsia, where you've got little different balls of yarn across here. So I can do it. It's not my favourite thing to do, but because I think it's so cute, I will do it. But it'll take a bit of time. But then I noticed when I got home, after deciding to make it when I picked up the book, its name is Elsie. And my granddaughter's Elsie, and she had a birthday last Sunday. and we're having a party on Friday. And young-ho me goes, oh yes, I'll make a hippopotamus by Friday. And I could have, if that's all I had done, I could have done that because, well, maybe not the dress. Anyway, so I'm going to ask her if she would like it. And then I will finish it for her if she would like it. But then, you know, there's 3 of them, and if I do it when the other 2 are here, because my daughter's up here with her too, so we've got all 5 grandchildren are going to be here on Friday together. They're all going to put their hands up. And I've already made the raccoon for, can't remember, it's one of my daughters too. So I might say, you've already got one. But honestly, look at this. Sloth. I know one of them's into sloth, so that might be there. And this, can you see that jacket? It's this furry yarn. This is all sheep's yarn in here. And little details. Look, the tiger's tail sticking out. Beautiful clothes. It's actually funny because my friend Jenny, she loves knitting the clothes best. I actually like making the animals best. And we actually did one together where I made the animal and she made the clothes for, that was a fox for my daughter-in-law. And here's our chimp. No tail, see? Chimpanzee. Anyway, that's a bit of fun in the pipeline. You can see I've got a lot going on and not enough time to do it all. So I hope you liked all that. And thank you very much for watching, and I hope by next time I might have the quilt top put together, the twisted bandstand started, and maybe some more knitting animals, apart from the rest of everything I want to do. And I'm really addicted to the death by cross stitch at the moment, so that's a bit hard to put down, which is a really good thing for a good piece. Anyway, that's all from me from up here. Go down here if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Up here if we're in Queensland, because we sort of say we're up, and New South Wales and Victoria are down. Anyway, I'll ramble on now. Have a good week, good stitchy week, everyone. Bye.